That was the worst part, is it was just depressing.
Yeah. But it's like, it's the 70s. I feel like that's, it's like when I watched the Planet of the Apes movies. Like I got a DVD set for like $10 at Walmart. And I had been aware of them, and it was so cheap that I was like, well, it's like enough part of the culture that I was like, well, it's this cheap and it's like a big thing. Like, let me just get it and I'll watch it. And it's what, like 5 movies, 6 movies? And I got through the first 2 movies and I was like, oh, I wasn't aware that in the 70s you could just have a movie that started off miserable
and just stayed miserable.
Ended depressing and didn't, like, no one grows, no one changes, no one gets what's coming to them. Everyone gets what's coming to them, which is we all deserve to die because we all suck. The end.
The end.
And I was just, so like, this feels familiar to me in that I think this is later than the Planet of the Apes movies. They're what, like the late 60s, and this is the late 70s.
I feel like this, a lot of these, this is the late 70s.
Yeah.
But also like Soylent Green ends horribly. And Last Man on Earth or Omega Man ends the same. Just like, we don't need a redemption arc.
Yeah.
It can end like shit.
Well, it's almost like if there is a plot, it's secondary to like world building, and they just want you to know that the world is terrible.
Yeah.
And like maybe a plot also happens with the terrible world, but the main point is that everything sucks and it's your fault, America. Yeah. Enjoy your popcorn. Like,
yeah, basically. Oh, okay, sorry. Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Meg. And this is Ger Can Get It. This week, the post-apocalyptic 70s?
Who knew?
If they gave awards for makeouts on screen or stage, this guy would get a lifetime achievement. He'll find any excuse to get right to second face. You honestly wouldn't believe it. Dissecting each and every kiss with tongue. There's only one conclusion to come to. It's that Ger can get it.
Starring Gary Davies.
That bums me out. Can I just say, so we're watching Deadly Harvest from 1977.
You know, his agent was like, look, no. You're gonna have to
that's why it bums me out, because I'm like, if today he was like, no, I just call me Gary, then I'd be like, okay, that's just the version of your nickname that you want.
Yeah.
But no, he's Ger. So like at some point, clearly, either someone was like, I can't pronounce this name, and he's like, do you just want to call me Gary? Or, like, they just looked at it and went, we're going to call you Gary.
Yeah.
Like, he either had to give it up or someone told him to give it up, and they just called him Gary. And it makes me sad. Like,
and
that's your
Gary,
name.
like Gary, not Jerry. You think it'd be like Gerry?
Yeah,
like
but like, if they couldn't handle Garant, like, I feel like Jerry or, like, Jerry spelled with a G would fuck them up even worse.
Yeah.
So, like, I kind of get, and, like, if your nickname is Ger, you just add a little Y to it, and, like, now you're Gary.
It's like Jeff. The GEO.
Oh, the GEO, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That
Gary Davies.
This is his first ever movie, at least according to IMDb. And I don't even know where to start. This was so we were before the podcast started, we were just talking about how I feel like we don't have movies of this type anymore. It was a thing that I feel like you saw more in the 60s and 70s where the plot was really secondary to just world building and showing you a world that sucked and wasn't going to get any better, and it was all your fucking fault, America. Like it reminded me of trying to watch. I haven't been able to get through all the Planet of the Apes movies. I got through the first 2, and that was as much as I could stomach, because it was just like, why am I torturing myself while I fold my laundry watching these movies that are just like, I know it's not torture porn, but like watching it felt like torture porn.
Yeah.
Like just misery after misery after misery. And I was like, I thought this was a fun movie with like guys in ape masks. No, no, those movies are so fucking miserable. That's what this feels like. So the basic premise of this movie is that it's the 70s, it's the late 70s. Every country on Earth has basically so mismanaged everything that climate change has now gotten totally out of control. And so now there's problems with, I know, this fictional movie, very fictional. I try and put yourself in this crazy world where like that might be what's going on. I know that'll take you a minute to like get into it.
Okay, I'm working on it.
To suspend your disbelief, yeah. So climate change has gotten so out of control that like no one's able to grow crops. And I think they mentioned that all the waterways are poisoned. So it's not even like you could like be eating seaweed and fish. Like the fish is inedible and nothing is growing in the water even. So like any source of food that could exist is rapidly dying out, or they can't, or like the soil is bad and poisoned and they can't grow. And they talk briefly about like, what about hydroponics? But there's like an energy crisis because it's the 70s. So they're like, we don't even have enough electricity that we could run the like indoor hydroponics setup to get the plants, that we'd still have to wait however long it would take to grow the plant from the seed. Like it's any way that we could grow food is just not going to happen. And so the beginning of the movie starts with a bunch of like government officials, and you first just see their hands and like their shoulders. Like it's very menacing. It's like the bad guy from, what's that cartoon?
Inspector Gadget.
Thank you. Yeah, I was like, do. Yeah, that one. I remember the theme song. The claw. Yeah, that's what it felt like to me. Just like menacing, faceless individuals who are out to get Inspector Gadget, who are like, we've done the math, we've figured this out.
We're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die in 30 days. There will not be any more food for anybody. And it's not super clear to me whether it's just for the country that we're in. So it's in Canada. Like it's clearly filmed in Toronto. And maybe like there's like some of the farmland parts, I was like, is that Saskatchewan? But like it's clearly in Canada. They don't say, but like they drive by an A&W, like they're in downtown Toronto. You see the CN Tower at one point. It's Canada. But they don't, like, the government officials don't, like, announce anything. But so it's unclear to me whether it's everyone in Canada will die in 30 days, or if it's like for the entire amount of food in the entire world is going to die in 30 days. But it's like 30 days is our time frame. So we start with them kind of at that, like, global, national, we start at, like, the big macro level, and then we go down and we see this family. And I don't remember what their last name is. Isn't that terrible? Like, they keep talking about it the entire time. I just call them the farmers because they're a family of farmers.
They are the...
Isn't that terrible? Like, they say their last name every single line of this fucking movie.
The characters don't matter. That's why.
They don't matter, yeah.
I know Wilcox is the bad guy.
Yeah, Wilcox is the bad guy. Yeah, I don't remember the name of...
And they are the...
That's terrible.
It's on the side of their truck because everybody's truck is labeled with their farm name.
The Franklin family.
The Franklins, thank you.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, that's not that far off from the farmers, let's be honest. So we meet the Franklin family. The dad reminds me of, like, Charles Bronson. He's like this giant monster-sized man. He's like 9 feet tall and 8 feet wide with the, like, Charles Bronson, like, side-swept haircut and the giant mustache. He looks like he could pull trees out of the ground with his bare hands.
Yeah, he really does.
He's the biggest man I've ever seen. He should be the bad guy in this, but instead he's like just based on his physicality.
He's like the gentle giant.
Yeah. So he's dad, the farmer, and I don't remember what his name is either, but he's just the dad. And then he has his wife, who I think is named Linda, because I feel like every wife in the 70s was named Linda. And then they have their kids, one of whom is like a 20-year-old Kim Cattrall, which blows my mind, mainly because, like, I don't know a way to say this. I feel like I know Kim Cattrall from Sex and the City, so, like, in my head, like, that's my mental, like, I close my eyes, that's my Kim Cattrall. And I know that she was a Vulcan in Star Trek, so, like, I remember her from that a little bit, but, like, mainly, like, she's a Sex and the City person. So she's in her, 40s, 50s, like, when she's doing
also
Sex
in a movie with Rutger Hauer called Split Second, which, if you haven't watched, maybe go check it out. It's, like, the most 90s of Rutger Hauer sci-fi movies. He only eats chocolate and drinks coffee. And he calls it his anxiety diet.
Okay, now I want to see it.
All right. And she has the same haircut that she has for Star Trek because she was filming Star Trek while she was in it. And she was like, I'm not changing my hair. And they were like,
that was her real hair?
It's fine. Yeah, it was her real hair.
Don't they give her that, like, Vulcan, like, bang treatment?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's, like, side shaved.
God damn.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
I've gotten like the Vulcan haircut on accident when I was like, hey, can I get bangs? And the hairdresser was like, I fucking hate you. And, like, that is a hard haircut to live with.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Now I feel bad for her. And I'm going to feel worse for her in a second because, like, so, like, my mental image of her is, like, her in her 40s in Sex and the City. And so she's like she's not an old woman in your 40s, obviously, but she's, like, older.
Yeah.
And she has kind of, like, she's not fat, obviously, she's Kim Cattrall, but she's, like, she has like a bigger build.
Yeah.
And it makes sense.
More mature.
Yeah. But I mean like just like physically, like she's like a larger, like she's
curvier.
very tall and she's
Yeah.
like solid. Like she's not fat. I'm not saying she's fat. I'm just saying that she's like bigger and solid. And in Sex and the City, her head and her body are like proportionate to each other. But in this, when she's in her 20s and also she's playing like a farmer's daughter who's starving to death, she has from the neck down, she's farmer's daughter who's starving to death. She's very,
Yeah.
very, very skinny. But because she's built bigger, she still has like her giant head. So like the first time she comes on scene, I was just like, what the fuck am I looking? Like it was, and they give her, and like first, I didn't know that Kim Cattrall is naturally a brunette because I feel like I've only ever seen her like with blonde hair, and you can always tell based on someone's eyebrows, but like I never put that together either for some reason. Like I just was like, no, she's just a blonde and her eyebrows are a little bit darker. But this appears to be like her natural hair color. And it's like some people, their natural hair color like does not look good on them. They look better like dyeing their hair blonde or red or whatever. Like that's what they look better as. So like, I don't know. It was just like very jarring. Like if I showed this to you and was like, pick out Kim Cattrall, I feel like you would have a hard time being like, oh yeah, that's Kim Cattrall. It's just, she looks very, very different. And she doesn't get a lot to do in this. She's just like the daughter of the farmer. And she gets engaged to a guy at one point, and then the guy dies, and then she just spends the rest of the movie shell-shocked until she learns how to scream, which we'll get there, but it's like
way
fucking
down
what?
the line.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So anyway, so we've got giant Charles Bronson dad, we've got tiny 1970s hair, like Farrah Fawcett hair mom, and then we've got the kids, and we've got little Bobby, who you kept swearing at the entire time. Which I fucking love. Bobby is like maybe like what, 12? Maybe like she's like a little
10
girl.
or 12.
10 or 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's a little girl. It's the 70s, so everyone's hair is exactly the same, which I love. So there's Bobby, who's 12. She's got the unisex haircut of all children in the 70s. She's Little Farmer's daughter. And then there's bigger sister Kim Cattrall, and I don't remember what her character's name is even. Do you? Like it's like
Susie or something.
Yeah, whatever, Susie or
Yeah, it
something.
doesn't
We'll
matter.
just call her Susie or something.
The characters don't
They
matter.
don't matter.
They don't matter.
Which is why it's so hard to watch this movie, because it really feels like the movie is going, it's like trying to have it both ways. It's like, here's this world, and the world is terrible, and I want you to care about this terrible world because I'm showing you the effects of this terrible world on one family. Like we're gonna take the terribleness and we're gonna shrink it down to the micro level, and that's what will make it connect with you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the movie is like, P.S. we also don't give a shit about this family, so we're gonna like blow them away in like a shootout in a church, but like you're not gonna feel affected by it because you only had 5 minutes with these characters anyway, so you don't really care.
Yeah.
So it's like you're trying to do it two ways, and you end up being unsuccessful, like in both ways.
Except making me sad.
Except bumming me the fuck out. Yeah. This movie is so hard to watch, and like not just like emotionally, but also, can we just pause for a second? It's the 70s. And I realized that everything in the 70s was like yellow, but this movie is the yellowest yellow movie I've ever. And I'm glad. So I found a version of this movie on YouTube. You bought it from what, Amazon?
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we watched your version, because if we had watched mine, I would have been like, oh, maybe this was just like a bad rip from a VHS tape, and that's why it looks sort of yellow. But you have like the official for money version.
Yeah.
And it is
still yellow.
So yellow, and it's not even.
I want somebody to color correct it.
Yeah, that's what it feels. It feels like it's not yellow on purpose.
But I think it is supposed to be. I think it's supposed to make it feel like bleak.
Done. Successful.
Done.
Just like.
As if filming it in Saskatchewan in the winter didn't make it feel bleak enough. And it's supposed to be summer.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because we're like in nuclear winter now, because it's just, they have to like twist that fucking knife in. This movie is just. It is. I watched this for you.
Can you imagine going on a date? And by you, I hope you mean Garrett. Gary. Can you imagine going on a date and you watch this movie? You're like, yeah, let's go out. We'll watch a movie, get some ice cream, and you come out and you're like, oh my God.
But again, like this feels like a thing that must have happened in the 70s.
I think it's a made-for-TV movie.
Was it?
I think so. I think that's why it's square.
You could have had, oh my God, yeah, the edges of the frame. So
were rounded.
The very first couple of shots, they feel like, I've seen like photos like this that my parents have in the basement from the 70s, where the photo size is like very small and square like a Polaroid, but the edges of the whole picture are curved. And so when they first started when the movie starts, I was like, oh, is this meant to look like a 1970s photograph? And then the screen does like widen out a little bit, and the corners they become, right angle corners instead of those little like curved corners.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's such a weird stylistic choice. Like, because it's still that 3:4 ratio that we used to have before we had like the more rectangle-y shaped TV screens. So it goes from a small square to like just a slightly bigger square. I was like, what? But I feel like, to your point, I feel like in the 70s, there are so many bleak fucking movies that you could have gone on a date and been like, hey, you want to go see Planet of the Apes? Like, that sounds like fun, like a fun sci-fi movie. And you just come out and you're just like...
At least those have a fun twist at the end.
That's a depressing twist.
I mean, it's a twist at least. Like Soylent Green is people. There's the...
Yeah, but it's not like a happy twist.
You've been on Earth the whole time. But this one is just like...
You're going to die in like 29 more days.
You're all going to die.
So fucking
Sorry.
dark. Yeah, but like I feel like, to your point, you could have had a depressing date in the 70s at the movie theater. You could have had a miserable date. And I feel like you could have a miserable movie date now, but
if it was Charlton Heston, you knew what you were getting into.
Maybe.
You were like, all right, well, this is going to be shitty, but Charlton's in it.
Did they? I guess I was the only one who like didn't know that those were the saddest, bleakest fucking monkey face movies ever. I was just like, oh, they're apes. That's hilarious.
I remember when the new one came out and he was in it. He gets a line, he's dying, and his only line is, "You goddamn dirty apes," and it makes no sense because he is an ape. He's not a person. I
have only seen clips of the new ones just because I heard how fucking terrible they are.
New as in like early 2000s.
Yeah, the Tim Burton ones, right?
Yeah.
One. I don't know how many he made. With the newest ones, I was just like, the original movies are depressing to me, and the idea of being like, no, let's granularly sort out exactly how you get to the Planet of the Apes. Like, let's watch the downfall of humanity scene by scene instead of starting with like, P.S. humanity already died.
Yeah.
It seems worse. It seems so much more depressing. So like, you could
Nothing is more depressing than this movie, to be honest.
Well, but it's like, it's almost less depressing just because, like I said, the movie doesn't actually give a shit about the family it wants you to give a shit about.
That's true.
Like, it's almost like one step removed. And so, it should be. Like, if the movie actually cared about this family, you would want to slit your wrists at the end of it because it's just so fucking dark and bleak and there's no way out. But, like, the movie's like, yeah, I don't know, there's this family and they're farmers. Fuck them. And so it's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll get through this. So, sorry, we keep getting distracted with just how bleak this movie is. It's so dark. So, anyway, there's the family. There's little Bobby, who you hate. Then there's Kim Cattrall with her giant head and tiny body and like black hair and no dialogue. And she's like, I don't know, like late teens, early 20s, probably that kind of age.
She's supposed to be older than Gary.
Is she? Yeah, I guess she must be. Yeah. And then Ger plays a character called Mike, which is the only name that stuck out. Well, that and Wilcox. So there's like two names I remember from this whole movie. And so he plays Mike. In full 1970s glory, which is the only thing that saved this fucking movie. He's got
the mushroom cut.
He's got the flowing hair. He's got the corduroy tight fucking jeans with like the bell bottoms. Yep. The little leather shoes. Just, you know what, man? Like, that's all. Like, that, you came in as the eye candy, and that's like all that is stopping me from just crying throughout this whole film. So anyways, you're right. He's probably middle brother.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like the hothead brother. And he doesn't so Kim Cattrall is engaged to some random guy who I feel like...
He's from the city.
And Ger's like, fuck you, city boy. And I'm like...
You're only out here to steal our food.
Ger's accent comes out a little thick in spots, which I fucking love. That also made this movie enjoyable to me, because it's like... I feel like sometimes we can do like the neutral American accent, and like sometimes... I know I do it too, and like I don't hear it until everyone starts laughing at me. But like sometimes the accent comes out a little thick, a little bit thick and creamy, and that's in this movie it comes out a little thick and creamy. So Ger doesn't like Kim Cattrall's fiance, who has bought a farm down the road that was I think he bought it from like a foreclosure sale or something.
Yeah.
The farmers who had been there had not been able to pay, and they lost their land. And so Ger is like mad that you took over the farm of like my friends, like my neighbor friends. And then he's also like, fuck you, you're just from the city. You're here. This is all a giant scam for you to come in, and you're stealing people's land, and you came in to marry my sister so you could get our food. Like, it's all just part of a giant scam to like steal from us, basically. So he's like angry teen 70s Ger the whole movie. Sorry, Gary. Fucking Gary.
Fucking Gary.
So The movie starts off with little Bobby. Well, after the like bleak government officials saying how we're all going to die in 30 days. So
we're just not going to tell the people the truth.
Yeah,
we'll cut down rations to make them feel like we're doing something, but whatever we do, we're not going to tell
they have a
the
vote.
truth.
They're like, we're going to lie. We're going to lie to everybody. Yep. Everyone raise their hands. We're going to lie. All right, cool. All right. See you next. Have a lunch meeting. All right. See you later. So we have little Bobby, and they're talking. She's talking with her 9-foot-tall dad about the family cow, who has a name even? Melody the cow. No one else gets the name, but the cow fucking does. So, she's like, I don't want to sell my cow, Daddy. I love the cow. And he's like, it's a cow and it's food, and we're all dying, and it's the 70s. Like, just give me the fucking cow. And she's like, no, Daddy, no. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got the names now. So Kim Cattrall's character is Susan, and her fiance is named John. I did write it down at some point. So, he's like, look, we have to kill the cow because we need meat for the family, but also your sister Susan's getting married, and as a wedding gift for her, I want to give her a bunch of beef.
Cow meat,
so that they can start their lives together, and like all we have is Melody, and I know Melody's like a skinny cow, and she's your pet, and you like want a 4-H ribbon for her, but we're farmers and this cow's gonna die, and she's like, no, Daddy. So Giant Daddy goes and fucks off somewhere, and Bobby, this is when you started screaming at the TV, which I fucking loved. So little Bobby is like, come on, Melody, let's go escape. We're gonna go to freedom. And I'm like, you're in the middle of like a Saskatchewan field, bitch. Where are you going? Where? I don't actually know that this part was filmed in Saskatchewan, but like in my head, this is what I've always imagined Saskatchewan was like. It's supposed to be very, very flat. It's like I'm just imagining this big empty fucking farmer's field is all of Saskatchewan. But anyway, so she takes her little cow and she's like, to freedom, Melody. And she's got the cow with a rope and she's just walking across a fucking field. And I'm like, first off, you have no neighbors.
And Mike just watches her go.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, yeah, angry brother's like, oh, taking the cow for a walk, I guess. No questions.
No questions.
This is fine. So
I'm fixing this tractor.
He is. I feel like that's another theme of the stuff we've been watching is they have Ger, like, they're like, okay, man, like, do laundry. Okay, do the dishes. Okay, fix a tractor. And he's like, all right. And I'm just like,
quote Shakespeare, I can do that. You want me to fix this tractor? Fucking no.
He's like, this appears to be a wrench.
Loosening a bolt, one little bolt the whole time.
But with purpose and intention, which I love. He's like, I am handy. And I'm like, sir, I don't.
Handsy, baby.
I believe in my own abilities to fix a tractor more than I believe in your ability to fix a tractor.
I don't know.
And if you've met me at all, you know that I do not have the ability to fix a tractor. I fixed a toilet once, and I was so proud of myself. I'm like, that's the extent of my like plumbing and mechanical skills.
Yeah,
it's never gonna happen. And I believe in myself more than I believe in you with that one fucking nut. But like, good job, looking at your sister and being like, yep, she's stealing the family cow.
All right, that's
okay,
fine.
Cool. So little sister is just, I don't know where she's going even. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't matter.
So you were screaming, you were yelling at the TV, like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Bobby? Which I love. So she's just fucking wandering with her cow and her rope across the field. And then these bandits come by, and these bandits are like, hey, it's a kid with a cow, good deal. So they come by, and they just, most of this movie is people driving trucks across like bumpy farmers fields. So they have like a van, like a windowless murder van, and they drive it across the field. And they're like, cool. So they shove this kid on the ground. They take the cow, and I thought they were this fucking movie. I thought they were gonna just walk the cow into the car or the truck, the van. Or I thought that they were going to do like a 2-shot. So like they've got the cow, and then they like turn off the camera, and then they get like a big dead cow doll. I don't think that's what they did here.
This is a straight dead cow.
This
is a actual dead cow.
Or it is the most realistic dead cow prop that has ever.
No.
I know. So they shove the little girl, and she's like, no, Melody, my cow. And then we're so mean to her. Fuck her.
Well, guess who gets no cow now, Bobby?
Yeah.
Your whole family.
Yeah, you starved your whole family to death sooner than they would have died in 30 days anyway. So they shove the little girl over, and then they've got the cow, and the camera keeps going from like the guys with the cow back to Bobby, and then back to the cow. So like it's never Bobby and the cow in the same screen at the same time. So they put the camera on Bobby's face, and then you hear a gunshot, but you don't actually see it. Thank fucking God you don't actually see it, but you hear it. And I'm like, okay, like now they're going to switch it up for like the big dead plastic cow. But what happens is they go back and they've got like a little wooden ramp that they've taken out of the car that I keep calling it a car, the van, and they've got the cow lying on it. And earlier when they're about to shoot the cow, it's a real cow, and they have the cow just kind of like collapse onto her knees.
Lay down, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, they've already got this cow trained to like do something. So I was like, okay, maybe at this point they have just trained the cow. They're like, cow, lie down, and they'll just have the cow on its side. But then they start like wrapping a rope around the cow's legs and dragging the cow, and you see blood, very realistic blood on this piece of plywood ramp.
Because it's an actual
Because
dead
it
cow.
seems like it's an actual dead cow. And I'm like, did they kill a cow for this fucking
Did they
horrible
kill
movie?
that cow
Maybe.
in front of this actress?
That's what it seems like.
It really looks like it.
Because, like I said, when they had the cow, like, doing the little cow stunt and, like, bending over, I was like, okay, this is an acting cow. This is an acting cow. And then they're going to give me the plastic cow. But, like, they don't show you the shot. I'm like, okay, this cow is still fine. I don't remember seeing, you know how at the end of movies they'll have, like, PETA being like, all the cows are okay, or, like, the RSPCA or the ASPCA being like, the cow is okay. There wasn't one of those for this movie.
No, there was not.
And then the corpse of the cow, like they do a close up of them tying rope around the cow's legs, and you see the fur on the cow's little. Is it that's not the fetlock? That's on their head, isn't it? But the little lock of like the tuft of fur that's like by the ankle joint on like the cow's foot, and I'm like. That's not a plastic cow.
It's
and
so realistic.
I don't think
one
they
might think it's a real cow.
I know. I was like, is this just did they like tuft fur on the little plastic cow? But no, I think
Fucking Bobby.
and the way they drag it, like I don't think a real cow would let you drag it that way. I think the
No.
real cow would be like, fuck you, I'm not acting anymore.
Yeah.
Going back to the field. I was really upset by it. I was like, I think they killed a cow for this movie in front of this 12-year-old, and like, fuck that 12-year-old because she has to watch this because her character sucks. But I was like, I don't want to watch this. So I'm more upset about this cow dying than any human character in this whole fucking
entire movie.
Because the cow had a name and no one else matters. So anyway, I was looking at my notes and I wrote, did they actually shoot that cow? Question mark, question mark, question mark. So anyways,
Yes.
So Bobby runs back home and is like, Daddy, they stole the cow. They killed the cow, Daddy.
No, he comes to look for the cow, and Mike's like, he's not in the barn. And then he just points off to the field.
Maybe I missed. Yeah, you're
And
right.
the dad's like, what? And then we hear Bobby screaming, and he runs off.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, my notes jump to, like, the scene after that. So, you're right. Gare's like, no, you mean the cow that she just dragged into the field for no fucking reason?
Yeah, that's where the cow is, man. She ain't in there.
And they have one cow. It's not like this is, like, one of a herd of cows. They have one fucking cow, and they have,
One
like, 4 chickens.
cow, yeah.
And, like, that's their farm of animals. Like, that's what they got. So it's not even like Gare was like, oh, she's taking that one for a walk. We have a couple other ones. No, they had one. Her name was Melody. She was beautiful, and she died for the art of this movie. So, art. Oof. So, I'm looking at my notes, and I wrote Gare has giant 70s hat hair, which is correct.
Yes, he does.
So that gets us through this movie. Okay, so Gare is talking to his dad, and he's like, I want to fight back against the Raiders, because I guess this is not like a one-off. People are they're running out of food, they're getting mad, they're getting desperate, and they're going out to the farmland. People from the city are especially driving out to the farmland because they're like, the farmers are going to have animals, they're going to have food, we're going to just raid their farms because the like government ration store in the city like is running out and doesn't have anything. So this is happening a lot. So Gare's like, why don't we join with Frank Wilcox, who is or was like the local sheriff, is kind of how I understood that. But now he's basically just like the local mob boss protection guy.
Yeah, protection racket.
So he's like, why don't we join with this guy because he's protecting all the other farms, and like, yeah, people have to give him food, but it's better to give him a little bit of food than the raiders coming in and taking all of our shit all the fucking time. And then giant Charles Bronson dad is like, nope, I'm a moral good man, and that's how you know that it's the 70s and they're all fucked. So if he's good,
y'all gonna die.
If he's good and moral, you're like, yeah, dad's like, I don't want blood on my hands. And Gare's like, what about the blood of this family, Dad? And he's such a pissed off teenager. I fucking love it. Like the world has ended, and you're like, Dad, you don't understand.
What about me, Dad?
So, oh yeah, okay. So then, Dad and Mom are talking about what they're gonna do and how they're gonna fix shit. And Mom, I didn't write down what Mom's like plans are, but I remember thinking like, oh, Mom's ideas were not bad ideas; they were good ideas. And I've got my note just says Dad basically calls Mom a dumb bitch. So, like it was such a paternalistic '70s like there, little lady.
Yeah, I'll take care of ya.
That blood needs to go to your uterus, not your brain. I was like, fucking okay, just sexism on top of the end of the world. Cool 1970s barfing yellow movie. All right, whatever. So, okay, so we cut to our other. We only really have two sets of characters in this movie. We have this family, what did I say? The Franklins. And then we have the other family, the rich family.
The city family.
I feel like the last name was
It's
like Eccles
Country
or
Mouse
something.
and City Mouse.
Yeah, post-apocalyptic Country Mouse and City Mouse. So I don't remember what rich family's name is, but there's rich family because they don't. Yeah, they're just archetypes. So there's rich family. They run some kind of a business
Computing. They do
computing. Yeah, their job is computer. I really like. So when you first see there's Rich son who's like in his 30s, I guess, and Rich dad who's maybe in his like 60s or 70s. And Rich son has his own family. So there's like a wife and he's got a bunch of kids. One of whom is like a girl version of Tiny Tim from A Christmas Carol. I'm so sick, Daddy. This is like, I was like, so this couldn't just be regular, like it's another family and they're suffering because it's the end of the world. No, it has to be like, where's my crutches, Daddy? And I was just like, Jesus fucking Christ. This movie is grinding the glass into the open wound so fucking hard the entire time.
It really is.
It was such torture. But anyway, so the first time you see 30-year-old rich guy adult son, he's in his office and he's got this giant desk and he's turned sideways to the side of his giant desk. And I was like, what is he doing? Because his hands are like bent below the desk. And then in a later scene, the camera like moves a little bit and you can see the lowest, fattest, squattest, weirdest 1970s computer terminal. Like I don't even know how to really describe it. It's got a screen on it, but it's built into where the keyboard is. And the screen is very, very small and low. And the whole thing is sort of shaped like a rhombus. And it's like, it's almost like typewriter shaped, but like, it's like a typewriter if you mashed the world's tiniest, like security guard style computer or monitor, like just mash that into like a typewriter.
They're the Ennis family.
The Ennis? Okay. I knew there was an E there. So,
like all in one, like a tiny little screen,
Yeah.
and the keyboard and the 5.5
yeah.
inch floppy.
And it looks like it weighs like 80 pounds. Like it looks like the
it's
heaviest.
huge.
But it's huge, but it's so low that it's like, why isn't that on your desk? Why is
Makes
it?
it look futuristic.
Well, it's the way that I've seen in old movies when people have typewriters. For some reason, they also had typewriters like lower than the main desk, and I'm like, why would you like? I mean, I know we weren't like into ergonomics, but like, why is this thing that you're typing on so low that you have to turn sideways and hunch over like forward into this little like dip to like start typing? But it's like, but yeah, they show it as like the super futuristic advanced. His whole job is computer.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, cool, great.
And it's like Ennis Technology Industries or something.
And there's a couple of scenes where you'd see the screen on the computer and it's full on like whatever happened before MS-DOS. I don't even know how, like it's full on like black screen with green typing that clearly like none of the actors in this movie are actually doing any of the typing on this thing. So anyway, so he lives in the future. He does computers. So he's there. And he's talking with his rich dad and they're talking about rationing and rich dad is like, I know how to do math and like the numbers the government is giving us for like what's available and what's not available, they do not add up. And no one else is as smart as me to do the math. But like I have our computer and I typed in percentages and they tell us that we are fucked. So he's the one who like figures all of this out. Not that it matters because again, it's the bleakest movie ever and even the smart people die. But he's like, look, I know the government is lying to us. These numbers don't make any sense. The government stores run out of food. Let's go and see farmers and we'll try and like buy some food off of them. And I'm like, we've already established that this society is post-apocalyptic. Like, what are you giving them money for? What are they going to buy with money? Food? No, they can't because you're the one that's giving them the money.
Right.
Like it doesn't make any sense what their plan is, but because they act like their plan is to give them money, but really what their plan ends up being is like, let's just go beg some farmers and hope that we're sad and pathetic enough that they forgive us for being part of the class that ruined the economy and also the earth. Like, let's just let's just see if crying works. So we go back to Bobby, and she's like, am I going to go to school this fall? And, like, the dad's response is like, I don't think there's going to be school this fall. Like, you might as well tell her, the world is ending, you dumb bitch. Like, there's nothing.
I don't think we're going to have school this year.
There's no future for you. So we've got Kim Cattrall coming in with her fiance, and they're talking about girl lamps, and they're talking about, like, the future. And it's like all these people making plans that they themselves know are never going to come to fruition, and, like, their lives
but just
are over.
not giving up. The Franklins are the we never give up, and the Ennis are the maybe we should just go ahead and give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But neither version is, like, any less bleak. Because it
No.
feels like the Franklin family, like, they know that their plans are like they know that their plans are not going to be successful, but they're like, yeah, you're right, they're, like, still trying. So the daughter is still like, I'm going to get married. So Mike is like, fuck all this noise. Like, I am going to Sheriff Wilcox. He's really our only chance to get any kind of protection from all of these raiders. And I know that we don't have anything to offer him because, like, I can't give him food because Dad won't let me. So he shows up and he's like, I'm good with a gun. And I was like, are you?
Are you?
Really? Your floppy hair tells me
I mean, he
otherwise.
does kill someone.
Yeah. Which is how I know he's not good with a gun. So he shows up. He's like, I'm good with a gun. Like, pew pew. Like, let me join your roving band of raiders. And the guy's like, okay. So you later get a scene where they're, like, trying to teach him how to shoot a gun, like, with some glass bottles on a fence, and he is like. Jesus Christ. It is like the cow death was very real, but him trying to shoot, like, cans off a fence felt like, just, can you just even, like, pretend to act like there's recoil on this gun? Like, the first time the gun goes off, it looks like the gun actually goes off because it looks like his whole body is, like, racked with the recoil. And then I wonder if they were like, oh yeah, this will kill Ger. We can't have him use an actual gun. So then all the other times he shoots bottles, it's like they were just like, no, Ger, just pretend. And he's like,
Pew. Pew.
Him saying pew pew would have been more realistic than the rest of the gun shooting. But I was like, okay, so they're trying to train him how to use a gun. They know that he's full of shit. And he's like, I know how to use a gun. They're like, you're a delicate man. No, you don't know how to use a gun. So
Delicate man. He's
so
20. He's 20 in this.
He's a little baby in this is what he is. A long-haired little baby who can't fix his tractor.
Or take his jacket off.
I mean, look, he knew even then that, like, he had to be a never nude for all of us. Plus, it's the 70s, so, like, obviously everyone had to wear 6 layers all at once and post-apocalyptic winter. Or none. That is true. Based on some of the stuff on your other podcast with your 1970s movies.
Yes.
Yeah, either nude or never nude.
Or never clothed. Yeah.
Ugh. This movie... Yeah, it really is it's an outlier in Ger's canon because there is no making out for him. There is no, like...
It's because he's Gary.
Yeah, that's right. Gary didn't know
They
the full
stole
power.
his magic. They didn't give him his name. They took his name and they took who he was. He had to reclaim that.
So this is the Spirited Away of his career?
Yeah, exactly. Chihiro? No, that's not my name.
Oh, they took away his big dick energy.
They did. They were like, Garrett, no, you're Gary.
Well,
and
like,
he was
for-
like, oh, I'm Gary.
For a movie with Garrett Wynn Davies and Kim Cattrall, there is surprisingly little sex. Like, there's no sex.
It would be like sad hate sex. It would be like the worst. You couldn't put that in this movie.
That is true. It would be even bleaker. But I mean, just like for those two actors who are known for, like, very sexualized characters, I like that their first movie together is just fucking, it's the end of the world, and it's so bleak that none of us are going to get any. So we go back and forth. So we've got Ger, like, learning how to shoot a gun poorly, and then we've got Kim Cattrall trying to put on the world's saddest, ugliest wedding dress, which I
know.
I don't know if it was the saddest, ugliest wedding dress in the 70s, but, like, god damn, it looked like she just took all of the curtains from the house and sewed them together and was like, is this modest enough? Nope, add another curtain to it. So
she's like, it's a little big right here. And
well,
she
we're all
just
starving to death.
Squeezes the waist. The mom's like, yeah, we had more to eat when I got married.
Even the wedding dress scene is so fucking bleak, like, just because when you realize what they're saying, you're just like, oh, it's... Yeah, maybe don't comment on how skinny Kim Cattrall is, who's dying in this fucking movie. So we've got mom and dad having a love scene together because you really need to, like, try and sell this love story for reasons that will become apparent later.
Yeah.
Which this is the 70th most manliest thing that I've ever seen. So mom and dad are talking to each other, and mom is like, I love you. She says, I love you to him. And dad does not say I love you back. He goes, never stop. I need you. Fucking, could you just, we're all going to die in like 29 and a half days. Could you just say that you love her? Could you just fucking just not be the most macho 70s man ever?
Isn't this 77?
Yeah.
So this is the same year that Star Wars came out.
Oh,
New Hope.
I love you. I know, right?
Well, that's Empire Strikes
Is that
Back.
later? I don't know all the Star Wars.
That's the 80s, but 80 actually. But it's just interesting that this movie came out and then Star Wars comes. And you can see why Star Wars was like, look, it ended happy.
Because there's some hope in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if every other movie in the theater was just
A New
shit's
Hope,
terrible
one
and
might
going
say.
to fucking nerd, fucking nerd. So we're trying to sell the mom dad relationship, and
Yep.
it's
Nope.
just such a fucking bummer. So yeah, we've
take
got
care of you.
we've got Mike and brother-in-law, and they're getting into a bitch fight, and I will say that like. This didn't feel like stage fighting. This felt like they were like, okay, Garrett, see that guy? Beat the shit out of him. Action. Like, they're in this barn.
They killed a cow.
I know. They were like, well, I don't care
They're
if
like,
Garrett gets
it's
a black
fine.
guy.
Just punch him.
But, right? Like, didn't it feel like they were actually beating the shit out of each other?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So they're in a barn. Garrett's like, you're just marrying my sister so you can get all of our sweet chickens and eggs.
You're here to steal our food.
And future brother-in-law is like, can't we be friends? And Garrett's like, no. And they just bitch fight each other the way that actual 20-somethings I feel like would kick the shit out of each other in a barn, and they're just like slap fighting. But it's like very like there's like actual like touching going on. So they're beating the shit out of each other, and then which is impressive until 9-foot tall dad comes in and just like basically
lifts
like picks he picks one of them up. I don't remember if it's Gary or the brother-in-law, but he like picks
John.
Is it the brother-in-law? John?
Yeah.
Okay. So he like picks him up like by the scruff of his neck like a kitten. He's just like and throws him off of
When
Gare.
you're 6'8", 400 pounds of muscle.
Like the dad, like him as a farmer makes sense, but if they were like, oh, he used to be a professional wrestler,
Also believe
I
that.
would have been like, yeah, that feels right. So he's like, you guys need to stop being little bitches. So Gare is like, stop taking the boyfriend side over me. I'm going to join up with Wilcox. Like, meh. So this is where you have like him trying to learn how to shoot a gun scene
Wilcox.
fucking poorly.
Yeah.
You making fun of the accent again?
No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we have another scene with Bobby, which is how you know that shit's going to go down because she only pops up when she's going to be a stupid moron. So we have Bobby, and she's outside playing with the chickens, and I'm just like, you need to stop playing with your food. Like
I know. And she's giving them grain. She's like, enjoy it because that's all you're going to get all day. And it's like, they're chickens. If you just let them be, they'll go find food.
Yeah, they'll be okay.
They'll
and like,
be fine.
I have a bleeding heart for every animal, but like in terms of this post-apocalyptic movie, stop fucking falling in love with your dinner. Like this is not healthy for any of us. So the second Bobby was on screen with little chickens, I was like, shit's gonna go down. So what happens is we've got two government men come. Sorry, we've got the rich family, the Ennis family. Yeah. I don't know when my notes. I was like, are they from the government? So the two rich guys. So rich grandpa and rich
Because you
daddy.
want the government guys to reappear and they never do.
No,
That's just the very beginning.
yeah, they're just this weird framing device that's like, all right, the world is going to end. Okay, cool. Like now we're on to the story.
Yeah.
Which also feels very, very dated, but it was, I don't know. Anyway, so we've got rich grandpa and rich daddy, and they come by and they're like, they see this little girl with the chickens, and I thought they were going to just like also shove her over and make the chickens.
God damn it, Bobby.
Like everyone else. But they come by and they're like, we have my little daughter Trudy is so sick and she needs food. And Bobby's dad, the 9-foot tall monster man, is like, fuck off. And then Bobby's like, you can have my food, because Bobby ruins every fucking scene she's in. She makes everything worse by her whole presence. And then like 9-foot tall dad is shamed and is like, well, little Bobby has made me remember the spirit of Christmas, basically. So, and I'm like, you know what? Like,
Even though Bobby's a little bitch and
Bobby
she got our
ruins
cow
everything.
stolen.
I just feel like there is a time and a place for like the milk of human kindness, but that is not the time and place that we're in right now. Like we have 30 days left to live. You're giving them all your food. You're going to have like 2 days left to live. Just fucking don't do it. So anyways, Bobby's like, do you give them my dinner? And dad is like guilt tripped into this. So they bring old man and guy in his 30s, grandpa daddy, and they bring them into the house and they give them a bunch of like eggs and bread and like meat and stuff. And they tell them, oh, that our daughter Susan is going to be getting married tomorrow. And so old man is like, my wife just died and I have a wedding ring and you guys seem like you're poor and like you probably don't have a wedding ring.
So here you go.
Take my old cursed wedding ring. It's all I can give you. As a thank you for giving me food for my sick granddaughter or whatever. So just fucking grinding the glass into the fucking misery that is this movie. So we've got them trying to leave, the old man and his son, and then there's a roadblock. And so Wilcox is there with baby Gary in the back, and they're all like, y'all ain't from around here, are you? and they're like, you seem to have food in your car, and I don't know who you are, so fuck you. So they get into like a giant, don't they get into a firefight? So there's a car chase because it's the 70s. And then they get into a firefight, and then old man is like, oh, my heart, I can't take all this 70s drama. And he just collapses and dies. And Gary's like, SpaghettiOs. So they put old man.
No SpaghettiOs.
That is true. We're too starving to death to have SpaghettiOs. So Ger flops the old man into the back of the guy's son's car, and the guy's son drives off, and he's like, I will get my revenge, basically. So he doesn't have food now because Ger took the food back. And he now has a dead dad, and he's going back to the city where there is no food in any of these stores. So the movie cuts back now to the Kim Cattrall family, and she's like, why won't my brother and my future husband become friends? And it's like,
do you think they will eventually? And the mom's like, yeah.
Fucking no.
You remember how they were beating each other up 15 minutes ago? Boys will be boys.
Yeah, it's going to be fine. It's totally going to be fine. Like, they cut to this scene, and then they go back to Rich City Dad. And I'm like, why? Like, is this just because Kim Cattrall needed to have, like, enough lines in this movie? And You're just like, yeah. She has, like, 4 lines, and the rest of the movie she just stares off into space because she's so haunted. It's just, there's, like, you could cut out the entire character of Kim Cattrall, I feel like, and it wouldn't.
You wouldn't have the wedding. Oh,
yeah, to get the food.
Yeah, you gotta have the wedding.
Yeah.
She's in it exclusively for the wedding.
Pretty much, yeah, as a thing for a brother-in-law to marry. This movie is so fucking bleak. So, anyway, she's like, they're going to be friends, and Mom's like, yeah, sure, yeah, totally. So then we go back to the city, and Rich Dad's like, I have no food, and I got to figure this out. He's like, what if I try and sell all my stuff? And I was sitting there, and I was like, who the fuck are you going to sell this pearl necklace and these stocks and bonds to? Like, there's no food anywhere. No one can eat your pearl necklace or your paper. Like, what is your plan, sir? Like, how is this going to work out? So he tries to sell all of his stuff to this guy who's like the king of the raiders, basically. And the guy comes in, has a meeting with him, and I'm like, fucking why? Just to fuck with him? And I think the answer is yes, just to fuck with him.
Just to fuck with him.
And then he's like, psych, I'm not going to buy any of your shit. I was smart, and I hoarded food, and you thought you were, like, super smart because you were rich in the before times. Well, it's not the before times now, so fuck off. So then Rich Dad is like, hey, there's going to be a wedding. I'm selling you information, basically. There's going to be a wedding with the farmers, and I know that they're all going to be bringing food to this. And I was like, that was never established.
Yeah, he says that.
Do they say that when they're at the table?
Yeah, because he's like, can I give you anything? And he's like, no, they're going to be getting from their neighbors what they need most.
Oh,
food.
Okay. I totally missed that until we get to the scene with Rich Dad. I'm like, how does he know that they're not just all going to show up like in solidarity and like kindness, whatever? So you're right. He knows that there's going to be a lot of food brought to this church, and he knows that the wedding is tomorrow. And he's like, hey, local mobster guy, if you go and you steal food from the wedding, like, I'll tell you where all this stuff is. You steal the food, you give me half. And the guy's like, oh, okay. So.
Although you'd think if there were actual raiders roaming about the countryside, you'd do that on the down low.
Yeah.
You'd be like, I'll bring you food over the next week.
Any decision that anyone makes in this movie to be kind or hopeful immediately backfires. Like, is immediately a problem and immediately seems dumb. Which is also, like, I think that's also the frustrating thing about this movie is it's not one of those things where, like, people act dumbly and or meanly or cruelly and they suffer because of acting badly. It's the moments when they try and retain a shred of their humanity, that's what causes their downfall.
Yeah.
That's what causes like, Bobby being like, I will share, and the family being like, I will share with the rich family.
I don't want to kill my cow.
Yeah. Having, like, any love or compassion or kindness for anybody is what fucks everyone over. Sharing with them and telling them about the wedding, and then the neighbors being like, I want to share with this wedding couple, with this to-be-married couple. I want to share with them so they can start their lives. Like, any any moment where there's the milk of human kindness, you're like, oh, this was the wrong choice.
Yeah.
Which is such a bleak fucking message for a movie. Like, I know, I get it, but it's like, they don't stop grinding it. This movie is hard to watch. It's so fucking painful. But anyways, so rich adult son is like, go there, steal the food, bring me back half, and I'll draw you this little map. And he draws the map on paper on his own fucking letterhead.
He's like, first you go down the main road, and then you turn left at the barn. It's the worst.
I don't think he even like writes down any street names or anything.
No.
He's just like, food here, barn. So the gangsters, they drive their little murder van out into the country, and there's a roadblock, and the roadblock is some random old man who's like, y'all can't come in here. And they're like, no, we're here for the wedding. And the old man's like, the wedding already started. And he's like, yeah, we're late. That's a bummer. And we brought stuff for the bride and groom.
He's like, oh, well, you make a compelling argument.
Yeah. And then he realizes, and the old man sees that the car is, or the van is actually like full of like militiamen. And he's like, what? And they're like, aha, our crafty ruse has failed. And he just bops the guy on the head and they drive off. So, because of course there is.
Oh,
so,
no. Oh.
So they get past the roadblock. They get to the wedding. My notes say wedding to Kim Cattrall. What the fuck is she wearing? Yeah, her wedding dress is they can't even give her a nice wedding dress in her post-apocalyptic sad murder wedding. I just like give her something. Give her fucking something to work with. So the gangsters, the same ones who stole the cow earlier, are the ones that are coming in to break up the wedding and steal stuff now, because there's only so many gangsters, I guess, in post-apocalyptic Canada. Mm-hmm. So they come in. I didn't understand this part so much, but they come in and they hit the groom is like trying to stop them from like stealing all the food.
Well, first they're just going to give it to him. They're like, fine, take the food, but don't harm anybody. And so that's what they're going to do. They're just going to take the food. And that's when the groom runs up and they're like, no, don't. And they hit the groom.
Okay. I must have blacked out from sadness that part of this movie.
Yeah.
I miss a lot of the plot. So, but he gets to the table with all the food where all the gangsters are. And they like, hit him in the head with like the butt of like a shotgun. And I thought he was just like knocked out. And then the next time you see him, he is bleeding like profusely from the head, which is very fake looking blood compared to the cow blood. So like we keep going back to like, I think that cow actually died.
Yeah, I think that cow
but
actually died.
Because it's like, it's not like they just had a bottle of really good fake Ribena on hand. No. So he's lying there with like bright orange paint all over his head, basically. And Kim Cattrall is like cradling him to her breasts and like, no, my husband, no. And I was just like, oh, fucking God, it never lets up, this movie. So anyway, so he gets hit in the head and I'm like, okay, like is this going to be like a one-off thing or is he going to be fine later? No, spoiler alert, he fucking dies from the being bopped in the head. And then there's a fucking shootout in the church. So we've got Ger and all the Wilcox gang versus all the gangsters. And then a bunch of like people in the church just bent down being like, what the fuck is happening? What is going on right now? All for bread. So you have a giant shootout. Ger is outside the church. I guess they didn't give him enough target practice with those 3 fucking bottles on the fence because he aims for some guy and he shoots and it goes through the church window and he kills his own mother.
It's not funny, but it really is.
It is the most improbable shot.
What the fuck?
Because she's also, the mother is like, so I know that like the dad character is like 9.5 feet tall. The mother is like 4 feet tall. She's
what
like,
are the odds?
This little tiny woman. And Ger's shot goes right into the window.
Horrifically.
Yeah. And goes through the window and hits her like directly in the heart.
Yes.
Just one, boop, dead.
And no one ever, we don't ever know that. Like he never knows that. No one ever knows that. Because he comes in and he's like, oh my God, they shot my mom.
Yeah, it's just like she's a casualty of the firefight. So only the audience knows the true horror of this fucking scene.
How violence just begets tragedy.
Just shoot me at this point. Like it is so fucking. But I will say that
tears tribute.
I will. Yeah, just let me die and use my meat and put me in the freezer for your post-apocalyptic eating needs. So. I will say that, so they have the firefight, the gangsters drive off. The gangsters don't lose anybody, but one of the gangsters is like injured, and the head gangster is like so mad about his like junior gangster being injured that he's like, I will get my revenge. And I'm like, you guys came to their wedding to steal their food and shot at everybody, and your guy got like a broken toe, and you're like, revenge! Which is like fucking...
Yes.
What? Okay. So I will say that when Ger comes in after the end of the fight and he sees his dead mom on the ground, I was like, okay, like you're doing this is a really good emotional reaction scene where for the rest of the movie, like, I don't really give a shit that everyone else died or is dying or that they're going to die in 30 days and that it's miserable. But I will say that, like, I thought his emotional reaction to the dead mother on the ground was very good. Like, he seemed like he was really, like, choked up and, like, having a hard time about it. But that whole scene lasts maybe, like, 12 seconds. And then they're like, okay, walk off now, Gary. And he's like, all right. So I was like, okay, all right. But, I mean, you see, like, he's a good actor, even in this, the bleakest, fucking worst thing I've ever seen in my whole life. So, okay, so, yeah. So we've got the church, we've got the drama, we've got everyone else leaving. We have a real quick funeral for Mom and fiance John.
Who dies. In Kim Cattrall's lap.
In her bloody wedding gown. Because, like, what
After
could make this bleak movie any
blood
more
all
bleak?
over her wedding gown.
Like, it's like they were like, what imagery could make this movie worse? How about a bloody wedding gown? Yeah. Is it a nice dress? No, it's an ugly fucking dress.
After Kim Cattrall was like, nothing's going to ruin my wedding day. Is it, Mom? And her mom was like, no, honey, it's going to be perfect. Oh, wait, I'm going to die. Your fiance is going to die, but not before he smears his blood all over your wedding dress.
Just like it never lets up. There's no levity at all. There's no breathing room. There's just nothing. It's just fucking hard the
And
whole way
spoiler alert, the only reason the violence escalated is because your brother showed up and tried to shoot everybody.
Fucking dickhead.
Oops. And everybody blames him. Rightly so.
You know what it is? It's because he's young, dumb, and full of cum. He doesn't get a sex scene, and so he's just so, like, full of rage.
Yes, he's just like, I didn't kiss anybody in this movie. I didn't get any, but I didn't get to do
he's just so full of rage.
They must have learned their lesson, because I think from here on out he gets his standard contractually obligated macking time, and every week they're like, look at Deadly Harvest. Look what happened when we didn't give it to him.
Everyone died.
We even tried changing his name, and it doesn't work, you guys.
Jesus Christ. I'm crying. Okay. So
for various reasons. Happiness, sadness.
So we have the funeral scene, and then Ger finds the map that the Mr. Ennis, I guess, like son Ennis, that he had drawn for the gangsters that shows like how to get to where the church is.
Food here.
And again, it's on the Ennis's fucking letterhead. So Dad is like, well, I look like Charles Bronson. It's time to get my revenge. So he's about to go off. He's like, Ger, you're in charge of your sisters. And Ger's like, I will not fuck it up, sir. And I'm like, oh, you saying that tells me that you were going to fuck it up so fucking hard. But like, all right, like good job. Try.
Not till your dad drives into Toronto to sad synthesizer music.
We haven't talked about the music yet. That is maybe the one other highlight of this movie is the music is so fucking weird and 70s.
It's performed and written by the same guy,
which feels right. Which feels accurate. It's like, so it's sort of like music from the 70s that feels very 70s, and also what the 70s thought music would be like in the distant year 2000.
It's like somebody had a cousin and they were like, I think he can do it. And they were like, can he do it for $50? And they were like, fucking yeah, $50 sounds great.
He just got his keyboard and he's super excited to learn how to use it. And he has watched a lot of like space themed movies. So yeah, he's got this for you.
He did it in a weekend. He didn't even score it. Like he didn't write it for the movie. He just wrote like 6 songs and gave it to him. And then they just had to figure out where to put it.
And they go with nothing. They go with not a single thing.
Nothing.
They're so jarring.
They don't match, not at all.
Because the movie it's the apocalypse, but it's the 70s. Like, the movie does not... I think it even says, like, it is the 1970s. That's in that opening narration.
I was looking it up to see if they give it a year, and they don't.
They don't, but they ground it in the 70s. Yeah. Like, they're like, it's the apocalypse, but the apocalypse is now. Yeah. But this music is like, in the distant year 2000. And I'm just like, what?
Like, the reverb and the just, like... I don't know.
There's not a single actual instrument. Yeah, it is all just like like weird strokes of like a keyboard.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's so fucking weird. So he's like, Gary, you're in charge of the family. He's like, aye, sir. And then little Bobby fucking comes out. And
even
like,
fucking Bobby. God damn it, Dad.
You have to keep little Bobby alive. And he's like, I don't know if I can. that girl is attracted to death in a way that's shocking to all of us.
Bobby's leading Susan out into the field. Come on, Susan. I know where we can go.
Let's go into the light. So little Bobby is like, Daddy, I want you to have my ribbon that I won from Melody. And I'm like, this cow's death still weighs on my soul. I am still emotionally upset about
More
it.
than the mom's death.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Just like, Mom, I mean, your husband couldn't even say that he loved you. I can't say that I love you either, Mom. So anyways, she's like, take my special ribbon. And you and I were both like, oh, is this going to be one of those, he like puts the ribbon on and if he gets shot, it like bounces off the ribbon?
No.
Fucking no. It's just to pull on the heartstrings and remind you of that dead cow from 10 minutes ago. So
You mean 4 hours ago?
this movie, time doesn't exist in this movie.
No, it does not.
It's
It
a little
does
bit
not.
like Other Women's Children, where like I feel like lengthwise it is the length of a normal movie, but watching it felt like years off my life.
It really
we are killing ourselves for Ger.
For you.
I need him to know the suffering that we're engaging in.
But
So-
not because of him. Mm-mm.
to show our love and support, we are submitting ourselves to this
Yes.
fucking torture experiment. So anyways, she's like, take my ribbon and feel bad about the cow. And he's like, okay. So Dad gets in his car and he goes to the city. And I wrote in my notes, laser music from the future while Dad drives. Because that is
Exactly.
that is the vibe.
Exactly what it
laser,
sounds like.
Because there are laser sounds. It's like pew pew pew.
Yeah, it's like pew pew pew, meow, 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 pew pew pew.
It is
driving
like-
through post-apocalyptic Toronto.
It
pew,
is
pew,
like
pew.
you gave a cat a keyboard and were like, kitty cat, make my music for me. And he was like, meow. And then he just like, that's what he made. So
sustained chord.
there is a long, it's like we've talked about on Strange and Beautiful Book Club, where you're like, the movies in the 70s, the pacing was really weird because
Yeah.
you've got, this movie starts out with a lot of,
This movie could be 45 minutes
it
long.
could be. It could have been, well, it could have been like 10 minutes and I would have gotten the same moral of everything sucks.
Yeah.
That would have been quick. But it starts out with a bunch of like, what do you call it? Like stock footage of
Yeah,
like of
aerial
overhead,
footage.
or aerial footage of like of Toronto. And then the movie like is happening and we've got some good pacing. And then when the dad is driving into the city, all of a sudden it's like, oh, do you want some more stock footage again of cities and like 20 solid minutes of him driving like in real time to Toronto? And I was like, why do we need, like, this is not an emotional breather.
Because it's like, look how empty the roads
Yeah.
are. Look how.
Yeah, it doesn't. It feels like it should be a lessening up, but it just feels more like we're dragging it even further. Like we're making it even harder, like to watch this movie. Like it
Right.
should be a lessening of the tension, but it in fact just like ramps it up and stresses me out even more. So it's just like driving through the emptiness with the cat space laser music. So, Dad gets to the city and there's a curfew in the city now. That's the thing that they've brought up. They're like, we've got the food stores and we've got a curfew and you have to have a reason to come to the city if you don't live here. And so Dad's like, it's a personal reason because he's, stoic 1970s man. And
Yeah.
the government guy is like, I need an actual reason, sir, to hit my button to lift the gate.
Except the gate's already up.
Don't- Yeah, you're right. He's like questioning him, but the gate is already up. And then
Yeah.
Dad's like, fuck it. And he drives through. And I was like, oh, is there going to be a chase?
That's because he's
No.
going to take his rifle. He's like, do you have a permit for that rifle? And he's like, it's just my old hunting rifle.
It is the most country part of this whole movie.
And the guy's like, sir, please step out of the car. And he's like, fuck you. And he just,
I have
hits him
murder
with
on
the
my
door
mind.
and then he drives off.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, God damn it. He made it through.
Yep.
There's literally nothing we
Can't
do.
chase him. Godspeed, sir. Bye-bye. So then we cut to the office where Rich adult son is, just sitting there staring at paper for no reason. In comes the gangster who brings him an orange plastic bag covered in blood. This fucking movie. It goes so hardcore. It is so sincere. It is so unironic the entire time. It is just so dark. He's like, here's the sack with some food. And the kid's like, that's the kid, the adult man is like, that's half of all the food you took. And he's like, it was a giant bloodbath and it's all your fault. And I'm just like, what part of this is it? Like you signed up for this. You wanted to steal money steal
you
food from these
became
people.
a raider.
Yeah, what part of people might try to defend themselves blew your fucking mind? But like, okay, so he's like, he gets his son and he gets his share of the food, and he's mad, and the gangster's like, well, I got shot at for having to steal from people, and that was a bummer too. So they're like having a big fight with each other. Rich son is like, he's on his computer and he's doing the math. He's like, okay, we're definitely going to be dead in a month. And I'm like, but your dad told you that like when he was still alive, like 4 hours ago.
He was like, run the numbers.
Why are you running the numbers again? Like the movie starts with, they're all going to die in a month. Then you have old rich dad who's like, we're all going to die in a month. And then you have rich son going, beep, boop, boop, we're going to die in a month. And I'm like, I got the
Holy
month.
shit.
I got the timeline.
It's only been 3 days.
I get it. I fucking get it. Like, stop stabbing me. I'm dead already. Like,
Yeah.
stop it. So So he gets in a fight with the gangster. The gangster's like a bitch about it. He's like, that's as much food as you get. If you want more food, you should put your own neck out. Fuck you. Bye. So then in comes the world's biggest farmer. And he's like, did you write this map? And he's like,
maybe.
And then Farmer Dad beats the shit out of him and throws him across the longest room like he's picked up a rag doll and is just like yeeting him across like 2 desks and into a wall. And I was like, is he dead now? Because like,
and he's like, I wouldn't have had to do that if your son hadn't killed my dad.
Yeah. He brings up, he's like, Ger was kind of a bitch and stole the food back from us. And he's like, what are
Farmer
you talking
Franklin's
about?
like, oh, I'm.
Which I thought that
I'm
was going to be
deeply
brought up
sorry.
again later. Like, I thought it was going to be, okay, Dad knows that Ger being with the Wilcoxes and stopping Rich Dad and Rich Grandpa from leaving town was the inciting incident that led to the church murder scene and led to Mom dying. I thought that was going to come back and be addressed.
Negative, Captain.
Fucking nope. He's just like, my son's a dickhead? Well, I knew that. All right, cool. Like, check that off the list. Like, it doesn't... None of these things that should have an emotional impact have any impact, and it almost feels like everything is so terrible that these characters are just permanently shell-shocked, so no new piece of bad information is enough to affect them or move them in any way. It's just miserable, and now it's more miserable, and it's just going to keep getting more miserable. Okay, that's life. And I'm like, well, I get that philosophy, but as a movie, it's hard to watch.
Well, in a month, it won't be life, so that's fine.
Yeah, I only have to be miserable for 29 more days because then the world's going to end.
Yeah.
Which is fucking cool. Great. So...
And then we get, we really thought you'd bottomed out. Oh, no. How about adult son Ennis going back to murder his entire family?
God. Yeah. I was like, okay.
Mercy kill.
I was like, we're done now with Ennis, right? We're done now with his family. Like they wanted food, they stole the food, they were given food, the food gets taken away, they steal some food, Dad beats them up. I was like, we're done now, right? Fucking nope, because that knife has to twist a little bit deeper. So, Rich son tells Farmer. After they have, like, they're beating the shit out of each other. Sorry, not out of each other. After Ennis gets the shit kicked out of him by Farmer Dad and just lies there like a limp rag doll, he's like, come look at my computer. Beep, boop, boop. We're all going to die in 30 days because we have to say it 4 times in this fucking movie.
Yeah.
And again, does not register, does not affect giant farmer Slow. He's just like, all right. More death, I guess. Cool. Like, he's like a fucking zombie at this point. He's just like, okay, well, I've kicked the shit out of you. You've learned your lesson. Goodbye forever. So, he learns from Rich's son that the gangsters who are pissed off are going to go back to the Franklin farm to exact their revenge for, like, the one gangster stubbing his toe, basically.
Yeah.
So he kicks the shit out of Ennis, and he's like, check that off my list. There's people going to come to my family farm. Let me try and call. And the guy's like, the phones are all dead. And I was like, fucking, of course the phones are all dead. Like,
well, they turned off the long-distance phone lines. That was one of the plans at the very beginning.
Yeah, I guess in my head, I didn't realize that, like, from the Ennis office to the family farm would be far enough to be long distance in my head. But, like, yeah, but he made it sound like the phone didn't work at all for anything. But you're right, probably it was a long distance thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not just that the government has to lie to everybody, it's that the government has to lie to everybody and also shut off all communication. And I was just like,
keep everyone from finding out.
Cool, great. Just, it starts bleak and it gets bleaker. So Farmer Dad tries to call the farm and he's like, the phone doesn't work. So Farmer Dad has to drive back to the family farm. He drives back through the checkpoint and he doesn't even wait for them to lift up the gate. He just blows fucking through it. And again, they don't try and stop him. They don't try and go after him. They're just like, well, another mad farmer. Okay, like, get the next gate. I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, even the movie is tired of its own bullshit at this point, I feel like. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, Farmer Franklin goes back to his family farm. There's a giant shootout between... So the gangsters got there already, and the gangsters are all shooting at the house, and only Ger has a gun. So it's just Ger going pew, 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 pew against an army of, like, 55
But he
angry
waits
raiders.
for the guy to come right up to the window.
That was the most messed up
That's
scene.
the, like, most brutal.
Yeah.
This guy's, like, looking, and he gets closer and closer, and finally he's, like, 2 feet from the window. So Ger sticks the shotgun out and shoots the guy in the
Fucking throat. Yeah.
Gary, sorry.
You're right. So yeah,
Mike.
they've got the gangsters are all outside the house. They're like waiting. They send one like junior gangster to like scope out the house because they're like, we see that there's somebody inside. Maybe there's like movement, but what's going on? So Frank, you got the short straw. Go up to the house. So this guy goes up to the house and he's like looking around and like just like trying to peek around. And you see that there's one window that's just just cracked open just a little bit, and Ger sticks the end of his shotgun out of that little tiny bit of window, and he's like, wait for it. And the guy gets up so close that I'm like, how does he not see Ger, and how does he not see Ger like right there? Like they are nose to nose basically, like through this very clear window, like through this little lacy curtain. And the guy gets all the way up to the window, and he's like looking through. And his throat is lined up with the opening in the window, and Ger just goes blam, and shoots him through the fucking Adam's apple and knocks him over. And you get like a fun close up on him with his like fake orange blood all over his throat. And I was just like, oh my fucking god. So then all the other gangsters are like, it's war now, bitches, and they're just like shooting. They're like shooting up the entire house, while Ger and fucking chicken headed Bobby and shell shocked Kim Cattrall, Susan, while they're all like in the house. Susan has not talked since her husband's death, which is like not made clear to me before this moment because she talks so little in the movie anyways that I was like, oh, this is supposed to be extra not talking. Okay. So it's just Ger playing like whack-a-mole trying to murder all these guys who are trying to murder him. Some random guy like gets in the house, and then Kim Cattrall like summons up the courage from deep inside her soul to scream at the top of her fucking lungs and point like in a horror movie at this guy who's coming in the house. Which, how did this guy even get in the fucking house? Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I guess there's more than one door. Yeah. And Ger is 20 and not good at locking doors, I guess. So Ger manages to blow that guy away. And then Farmer comes in, and like Farmer manages to help his son. This is so bleak. Farmer comes in with the Wilcoxes because he needs like a backup army, and he's like, the Wilcox is like, why am I going to help you? Like you judge me for being a fucking war profiteer. And Farmer Franklin is like, they're coming to like take all our food. You don't think they're going to go next door and try and take all your food, and like next door and take all their food? And so Wilcox is like, you're right, solidarity. So the Wilcox gang, Farmer 9 foot tall and young, dumb, and full of cum Ger, are fighting against the gangsters. And then this whole thing becomes like a fucking like free for all 70s circus because all of a sudden they're all
farming equipment.
Yeah. So like the gangsters, I think, are like trying to retreat is the sense that I get. They're like overwhelmed. They're like, we're going to retreat. And Farmer 9 foot tall and Wilcox is like, the fuck you will. So they get in their trucks and farming equipment and they drive after them and they massacre them. They massacre them with their cars. They like flip over the truck. At one point, we've got a truck with gangsters. On one side, there's one piece of farming equipment like holding the side of this truck. And the other side, there's a piece of farming equipment with like a, what would you call it? Like a big scoop?
It's like a bulldozer.
It's a bulldozer.
Yeah.
And the front of the bulldozer has these big spikes on it. Has these big like, I don't know, like for digging into the earth, I guess.
Yeah.
And they ram the spikes into the forehead of the front passenger of this car. And I was like, this movie was bleak and now it's insane. What the fuck? Like, it's not just like, oh, we rolled over the car and they're dead, or we shot them and they're dead. No, we're going to crush you and pierce your brain open with farming equipment. Yeah, and I was just like, why won't this end? So that's how the Farmer family story ends, with this giant murder spree. And Ger at the end is like, is this over now? And the dad's like, it's not over. It'll never be over. We have to survive, son. That's how the movie ends. And I was just like, fuck. So the ending of the story for the Ennis family is even worse somehow. Like it is. So Ennis' dad takes his bloody sack full of like one loaf of bread and like some ham and some stuff and some eggs and stuff. And he goes back to his house and he's like, I'm going to cook dinner for the family. And he's got his rich kind of cunty wife, and then he's got his little tiny Tim daughter who's all crippled, and he's got an older son, and then I think the other kid is, I don't remember if the other kid's also a daughter, but he's got like oldest son and then little kid who's not sick, and then girl tiny Tim, and then mom. And they're all sitting around the table, and Dad's like, I'm the best cook ever, and you're going to see this from like this great amazing meal that I have for you. He goes in the kitchen, and he knows, he's like done the math like 17 times, so he knows that everyone's going to die in 30 days, and they're all running out of food. He somehow has like poison in the kitchen. He crushes up these pills. He mixes it in the gravy. He pours the gravy over every fucking thing on this platter, and he brings it out to the family. And mom, they have to grind it in even just a little bit
We
more.
watch him fill up every single plate.
Yeah, slowly in real time. You're right. No one fills up their own plate. He's just like, make sure to get lots of poison for you, little tiny Tim. Make sure to get poison for you, my wife. And then before they're about to eat, the wife is like, let us give thanks. And she does this prayer where it's like not even just like a blessing before the meal. It's like fully a like, thank you God for this bounty and for this family. And like, at least we have family
Things
above
are
it
gonna
all.
get better,
Things are gonna get better,
and we're
like,
gonna get through this, and we're gonna survive.
Yeah, and thank
I'm
you
so
for
glad we have each other.
And thank you for bringing my like good strong husband to be able to like get through all this adversity to find us food at the last minute. And I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I can't take any more of this.
Twisting the knife.
And you see the entire family eat the dinner, and dad is like weeping through the whole fucking dinner. He doesn't tell wife even. Like, none of them know that he has poisoned all of them so that they will all die. That they will all die before the end of the world. So that's where you leave the rich family.
Yep.
Then you get to the poor family, the farmer family, like murder circus. And then it's just, are we going to be able to survive? Well, we have to, son. Just the insane laser music. I literally was like, this is where it ends. It's just fucking, we don't even get to I don't know why I thought we'd get to the end of the 30 days for some reason.
Everybody dies.
It's just, they didn't die today, but we only have like 29 and a half more days because the time frame of this movie is really confusing to me.
They could probably eat that dad for like months. He's so
the
big.
9 foot tall, 8 foot wide dad. The giant Charles Bronson dad. Yeah, you're right. I feel like if this movie had lasted 10 more minutes, it would have been like, well, we've mined all the sadness we can mine from this. What about cannibalism? Like, that is, you're 100% right. Like, that
was the next logical step.
Yeah.
Soylent Green.
Yeah. It literally, I feel like it walked right up to the edge of one of those like sci-fi apocalyptic movies.
Yeah.
Where it would have been like, Soylent Green, or like just regular like cannibal murder, and like everyone has dead bodies in their trunks or whatever. Like, it walks right up to that in terms of like it felt very realistic. And because it felt so realistic, and because we didn't have any of those like more horror movie typical elements or more like fantastical elements, it was so fucking miserable. Like, Planet of the Apes is dark, but you're at least like, I'm one step removed from this darkness because they're all wearing monkey masks.
Yeah.
Like, there's like something, or the second one where there's like mutants and they're worshiping a bomb and they're underground and shit. Like, you're like one step removed.
It's a little too
This is too close.
Too strange to be that unsettling. But
Yeah.
this is like, oh, I could see this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so realistic, even, I mean, minus the whole, like, let's murder people with farm equipment scene. But, like, up until that point, it's so grounded in a version of reality that feels like this could happen. This could happen, like, very soon. This could happen today. That you get no respite from it in terms of, like, there's that lack of distance from the reality, and you get no respite in terms of the story. Like, even the wedding scene, which like they could have given us the wedding and then the massacre.
Yeah,
and you would have had a little bit of a breather. You would have had a little bit of a break. But no, it's just
relentless.
It's just relentless, and people like just attacking each other physically and starving to death, and like the sick children, and like you never get a chance to just pause. It's just like. It is, the whole movie feels like you're grinding glass into your eyeballs.
Except for Ger.
But, yeah, that being...
And his angry character. Until the end where he's like, I'm sorry, Pop. I'm going to fix it all. I'll shoot the bad guys this time and not the good guys.
And not Mommy.
Not Mommy.
Like I said, young, dumb, and full of cum. So, I will say that, like... It's both a good thing and a bad thing that the acting in this movie I thought was generally pretty good. Because, again, if it had been, like, goofy, one step removed, like, silly, like, I know this is a silly movie acting, it would have given you as the audience that little bit of distance to have, like, the breather room. But instead, it was like, no, like, these characters... This feels like how people act generally. Like, they feel like real. I don't care about them because the movie doesn't care about them, but like it feels like these are real people.
Yeah.
And I understand the world that they live in, and I understand like who they are and what their motivations are. I did think the acting was good, even though I was like screaming at the screen because I hated every single fucking character. But like I said earlier, like I thought the Ger scene where his mother died was pretty good. I thought like him being pissed off like 20-year-old. I was like, I believe you the way you're acting. Like
I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I like it as like a document of his career and seeing where he started and seeing like the seed from which the flower blooms. I guess like I was like, okay, like you did a good job, and it's not a B movie. It's just so like in terms of like quality of performance and stuff, like I would recommend it on that. But in terms of like watchability, it's just hard. It's really, really painful.
Yeah.
And like it's also hard in terms of we are 50 years out from this movie, give or take, and climate change is still a big issue, and people denying what's in front of their face is a big issue, and the idea of like there being a problem and the government like just like lying about it or like trying to obfuscate, like that feels
on point.
It feels on point. Like it feels like the movie was like, I'm showing you terrible things so that you will change, and we're 50 years later and I'm like, is the world any different other than like fashion than what's on screen here? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're different and changed now, and that so it makes it even bleaker if that's at all possible, because time has passed and yet this movie still feels very timely.
Yeah.
So
the only thing they thought it was going to be global cooling, but it's not. It's the other way.
That's true. Yeah. The movie is like a post-apocalyptic winter, and you're right. It's supposed to be like summer, and they're all walking around wearing their like giant 70s parkas.
And it snows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of like recommendation, I mean, if you hate yourself, like, or you just want to see Ger with like young floppy 70s hair.
Yeah, do what I did the first time I watched through this. Just fast forward to every scene where Ger's in it, because it's like, oh, look how little.
Yeah, it'll be a 15-minute movie.
And it's fine.
You won't feel so sad. You will get to see like some sweet corduroy jeans, which are nice, and some long floppy 70s hair. Yeah. Yeah.
He gets to be angry.
Some sexy fashion. So in terms of like
slap fight,
what it is, the fighting was really good. I don't know if like
realistic
actors should be physically kicking the shit out of each other for like a fight scene, but like in terms of did I believe that they were fighting? Yes, because they were actually fighting.
Yes.
Like, that was like that. You're not going to convince me that was like scripted in any way. I think it was just Ger, see that guy? Guy, see that Ger? Beat the shit out of each other. Go.
Guys, see that Ger?
Go. So like in terms of like what I would rate this movie, I don't know. For the like cute young hot Ger and the corduroy jeans and the physical fight and like the dramatic acting at mom's death, I guess I would give it 2 smooches out of 10, because like those scenes were good, and I thought he did good acting job, and it was cute to watch. But like the rest of the movie, it is just like grinding glass into an open wound. Like it is a hard thing to ask somebody to sit down and watch, because it just never gets any better. So I guess 2 out of 10 just for the floppy 70s hair and the tight corduroy pants.
I'm going to go 0 raised eyebrows out of 5.
That's probably a fair rating.
We just didn't get any of our characteristics. There was no macking. He wasn't in on any kind of a joke.
I will say that he does drive a mint green car.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so there is a little hint of the forever night to come. But yeah, in terms of I don't think he even gets an bemused eyebrow raise, because there's nothing to be bemused about in this movie.
He's just angry. He's just mad and angry. He doesn't get any kind of like I get to cut up and have fun.
Yeah, there's no Shakespeare. There's no making out.
Nope.
There's no eyebrow.
Nope.
He doesn't die even, which is a thing that he does a lot on TV shows.
He gets to act dumb. Like he gets to act like an idiot character, but that's about it. But like a young idiot. Like I'm acting impulsively without thinking through my actions.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't think he was like,
I'm trying to do the right thing, but by doing maybe the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But also, what's the right thing in this situation? Because he's trying to protect his family.
Yeah, his motivations, I feel like, are understandable. It's just that, like,
he's just not what he's gonna be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, this is a bleak fucking movie. I can't
watch it for the mushroom haircut.
It is.
Just a little mushroom haircut.
It is that long flowing 70s locks. Like, I was
and
like.
the baby Ger. He's like 20.
Watch it to see the thing that will be.
Yes. Yeah. The start. It's good to start at the start.
But don't force yourself to get all the way through it. We did it, but we're professionals.
Yeah. That's the only reason we survived. That and screaming, "You're such a little bitch" at the screen every 5 minutes.
I did. I really feel like you could make a drinking game for every time Bobby comes on screen and you were like, "Fucking Bobby!" You could make this a drinking game, but it might kill you.
Yeah,
it might poison your blood.
Maybe.
So on that note,
until next time, friends.
Bye.
Bye.